It was the kind of day that promised victory, but instead, it delivered a crushing blow. I stood on the sidelines of the sports arena, my eyes locked onto the field where my wife, Lily, was competing. Her athleticism and focus were always impressive, but today, they felt like a dagger twisting in my heart. Weeks before, I had stumbled upon Lily's phone while she was out of the house. I had meant to check the weather, but what I found instead were intimate messages and photos exchanged between Lily and David, her so-called sport friend. Each photo, each word was a testament to their betrayal. My initial shock quickly transformed into a cold resolve. If they thought they could get away with this, they were sorely mistaken. The idea of revealing their secret at the competition was born from a mix of anger and desperation. As I watched Lily and David exchange glances and smiles, their hidden affair felt like a slap in the face. I had been plotting for weeks, gathering irrefutable evidence that would shatter their facade. Today was the day I would make sure the truth came out. The final event of the competition was about to start, and the crowd's excitement was palpable. Lily and David were at the center, basking in the adoration of their friends and fans. I could see the pride in Lily's eyes as she prepared for her final performance, completely oblivious to the storm I was about to unleash. As the competition reached its peak, I took a deep breath and approached the announcer's booth. I had managed to arrange a surprise segment, under the guise of a special highlight reel. The announcer, unaware of my true intentions, played along. The crowd fell silent as the screen lit up with images of Lily and David, images I had taken from Lily's phone. The photos were explicit, their flirtations undeniable. Each slide was accompanied by excerpts from their conversations, laying bare their deceit. The arena erupted in shock. Gasps turned into murmurs and then into a roar of disbelief. Lily's face turned pale as she recognized the images, her confident demeanor crumbling into one of sheer horror. David's attempts to explain fell flat as the truth hung in the air like a thick, suffocating fog. I watched from a distance as Lily's world collapsed around her. The realization of what she had lost, the trust, the respect, hit her with full force. David tried to defend himself, but his excuses were drowned out by the fury of the spectators. In the midst of the chaos, I felt an unsettling calm. The pain that had driven me to this point was replaced by a sense of grim satisfaction. I had exposed their betrayal to the world, and now I could finally begin to move on. As Lily fled the arena, her tears streaking down her face, I knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one where I would focus on healing and rebuilding. Little did I know, my friends Emily and Jack were embarking on their own journey, one that would soon intertwine with my story in unexpected and dramatic ways. For now, though, I was left to confront the emptiness that followed the storm I had unleashed. The days following the competition were a blur of emptiness. Lily was gone, and the echoes of her departure lingered in our empty house. I threw myself into work, focusing on projects and goals I had long neglected. It was a way to fill the void left by her absence, but it also served as a distraction from the ache of betrayal that gnawed at me. Meanwhile, Emily and Jack, two of our closest friends, decided to take a break from their routine and head to the mountains for a romantic getaway. They had always talked about wanting to escape to a place where they could reconnect and rejuvenate. With the fresh start that came from leaving behind everyday life, they hoped their relationship would grow stronger. Jack, ever the adventurer, signed up for a series of alpine climbing lessons with Ryan, a well-regarded instructor known for his skill and charisma. Jack was excited about the challenge and the chance to push his limits. Emily, on the other hand, was content to enjoy the beautiful scenery and relax while Jack pursued his new passion. The first few days of their trip were idyllic. The crisp mountain air, breathtaking views, and the serenity of the landscape seemed to promise the perfect escape. But beneath the surface of their peaceful retreat, something was brewing that would soon turn their vacation into a dramatic whirlwind. Emily's initial admiration for the mountains and Jack's dedication to climbing soon turned into something more complicated. As she spent more time with Ryan, she found herself drawn to his confidence and rugged charm. What started as casual conversations and shared moments of appreciation for the scenery soon evolved into something deeper. Emily was captivated by Ryan in a way she hadn't anticipated. Jack, consumed by his climbing lessons, was oblivious to the growing connection between Emily and Ryan. He spent hours scaling cliffs and perfecting his technique, pushing himself to new heights both physically and mentally. His dedication was admirable, but it also left him somewhat disconnected from the unfolding drama at the base of the mountains. It wasn't until Jack accidentally discovered a series of intimate messages between Emily and Ryan that the reality of the situation hit him. His heart sank as he read the exchanges filled with affection and promises. The shock was almost as intense as what I had felt when I discovered Lily's betrayal. The sense of betrayal Jack experienced was compounded by the fact that it was happening right in the middle of what was supposed to be a romantic escape. Fury and heartbreak surged within him. The serene mountain setting, which had once promised refuge, now seemed like the backdrop for a new chapter of deceit. Jack's mind raced as he formulated a plan. He would confront Emily and Ryan, but he wanted it to be dramatic, something that would ensure the gravity of their actions couldn't be ignored. He began to organize a special ascent for all three of them to the highest peak they had planned to conquer. It was meant to be the crowning achievement of their trip, but Jack's intention was far from celebratory. He wanted the confrontation to be as high stakes as the climb itself. As the day of the climb approached, the atmosphere among them was strained. Jack's interactions with Emily were tense, but he managed to maintain a semblance of normalcy. The day arrived with a clear sky, the mountains standing tall and majestic. The perfect setting for what was about to unfold. The climb began under the pretense of celebration, but as they neared the summit, the tension became palpable. Jack's emotions were a storm of anger and betrayal, and he was determined to unleash his fury at the peak. Little did they know, the beautiful landscape would soon be the backdrop to a confrontation that would shatter their perceptions of trust and loyalty. The climb to the summit was grueling, but the breathtaking views were worth every step. The sun was just beginning to dip toward the horizon, casting a golden glow over the peaks. As we reached the final stretch to the top, the excitement among us was palpable. I could sense Emily's anticipation, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of the climb, while Ryan's confident presence was a stark contrast to my simmering resentment. The peak was a narrow ridge with sheer drops on either side. The wind whipped around us and the air was thin, but the panorama was nothing short of spectacular. It should have been a moment of triumph, but for me, it was the stage for a confrontation I had meticulously planned. We took a moment to catch our breath and soak in the view. The silence was interrupted only by the wind, and for a brief period, it felt like we were suspended in time. I used this moment to observe Emily and Ryan closely. The way they looked at each other, the shared smiles, and the subtle touches, everything about their interaction screamed intimacy. "Emily, Ryan," I said, breaking the silence with a voice that was both calm and cold, "there's something I need to show you." From my backpack, I pulled out a small device with the incriminating messages and photos. The gravity of the situation seemed to sink in as their eyes widened. Emily's face paled, and Ryan's confident demeanor faltered. The serene beauty of the summit contrasted sharply with the storm brewing among us. "What is this?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "It's the truth," I replied. "Everything you've been hiding. I thought it would be fitting to reveal it here, where the view is as clear as the truth I'm about to expose." The confrontation unfolded with a chilling clarity. Emily tried to speak, but the words failed her. Her attempt to explain was met with silence from me. A silence that spoke louder than any words ever could. Ryan looked increasingly uncomfortable, his earlier bravado evaporating as the reality of the situation settled in. Jack, who had been maintaining his composure throughout the climb, could no longer contain his fury. His eyes blazed with a mix of anger and hurt. He had been waiting for this moment, and now that it was here, the tension was almost unbearable. He stepped forward, confronting Emily and Ryan directly. "You thought you could just betray me and get away with it," Jack said, his voice a mixture of disbelief and anger. "And you thought you could use our vacation as a backdrop for your affair." Emily's attempts to justify her actions were met with Jack's stony silence. The summit, which had been a place of shared achievement, now felt like the epicenter of a seismic shift in their lives. The beauty of the surroundings seemed to mock the emotional turmoil unfolding at the peak. The confrontation ended with a heavy silence. Jack's anger was palpable, but there was no satisfaction in his eyes, only a profound sense of loss. Emily and Ryan were left to grapple with the weight of their actions, their relationship exposed and their trust shattered. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the mountains, the reality of the situation set in. The climb had been intended to bring them closer together, but it had only served to highlight the fractures in their relationship. The descent that followed was somber and tense, a stark contrast to the excitement that had accompanied the ascent. For me, the summit had been a necessary moment of reckoning. The confrontation was over, but the repercussions were just beginning. As we made our way back down the mountain, the once beautiful landscape now seemed tainted by the drama and betrayal that had unfolded at its highest point. The descent from the summit was a tense and somber affair. We moved with an eerie silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts. The once exhilarating climb now felt like a hollow victory. The stunning vistas that had once inspired awe now seemed to mock us with their indifference. Jack's anger had not diminished, but it had turned inward, leaving him sullen and distant. Emily walked beside him, her attempts to bridge the silence met with coldness. Ryan trailed behind, his usual confidence replaced by an uncomfortable resignation. The gravity of the confrontation at the peak had sunk in, and the reality of their broken trust hung heavily in the air. As we reached the base camp, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken words. Jack's heartache was palpable, and Emily's attempts to make amends felt futile. The romantic getaway had turned into a battleground of emotions, and the once promised rekindling of their relationship now seemed like a distant dream. The following days were marked by strained interactions and forced civility. Jack kept to himself, focusing on the climb's aftermath and his own sense of betrayal. Emily tried to salvage what she could of their vacation, but the rift between them was too wide to bridge with apologies alone. Ryan, now a peripheral figure, stayed out of the way. His presence a constant reminder of the betrayal. The once beautiful mountains, now tainted by the emotional fallout, offered no solace. The picturesque landscapes that had been a source of inspiration and renewal had become the backdrop for a painful chapter in their lives. The hiking trails that had once been a source of adventure now seemed like obstacles in a journey of emotional healing. On the final evening of their trip, they gathered for a quiet dinner at the lodge. The meal was a formality, a way to mark the end of what was meant to be a memorable vacation. The food was fine, but the conversation was strained, punctuated by awkward pauses and fleeting glances. The joy of the trip had been replaced by a heavy sense of finality. As they prepared to leave the mountains behind, Jack's demeanor was one of resignation. He was tired of the emotional turmoil and ready to return to a semblance of normalcy. Emily, her eyes red from a day of crying, knew that the damage done was beyond repair. The promise of their romantic getaway had been replaced by a stark reality: their relationship was irreparably damaged. I watched their departure from a distance, feeling a mixture of sympathy and detachment. The drama that had unfolded between them was a painful reminder of the fragility of trust and the harsh realities of betrayal. For Jack, Emily, and Ryan, the mountain had been both a literal and metaphorical peak, a place where their hidden conflicts came to the surface. As they drove away, the mountains receded in the rearview mirror, their majestic peaks a silent witness to the personal storms that had raged among them. The landscape, once a symbol of escape and adventure, had become a landscape of broken promises and shattered illusions. With their departure, I was left alone to reflect on my own journey. The confrontation had been necessary, but the emotional aftermath was a burden I now carried. The mountains, with their towering heights and expansive views, had provided a dramatic backdrop for the conflicts of our lives. The peace I had hoped to find through revelation and retribution now seemed elusive, overshadowed by the complexities of healing and moving forward. The weeks that followed were a blur of adjustment and introspection. I threw myself into work, attempting to bury the remnants of pain beneath a mountain of tasks. The office became my refuge, a place where I could focus on concrete problems rather than the abstract ache of betrayal. I found solace in the predictability of deadlines and meetings, a welcome distraction from the emotional chaos that had become my life. One evening, as I sat in my office, catching up on emails, I received an unexpected call from Emily. Her voice, though hesitant, carried a tone of genuine concern. She wanted to meet and discuss everything that had happened. Despite my reservations, I agreed to meet her. After everything, I felt a sense of responsibility to at least hear her out, if only to gain closure. We met at a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where the clatter of cups and the murmur of conversations offered a backdrop to our difficult discussion. Emily arrived looking worn and fragile, her demeanor a stark contrast to the confident woman I had once known. We exchanged pleasantries, but the small talk quickly gave way to the heart of the matter. I know I have no right to ask this, but I hope you can hear me out, Emily began, her voice trembling. What happened with Jack and Ryan was a mistake, and I deeply regret the pain I've caused. I listened, trying to maintain an impartial stance. Her remorse seemed genuine, but it did little to alleviate the hurt I felt. I could see how the situation had unraveled her own sense of stability. The affair had not only torn apart my life but had evidently left Emily and Jack grappling with their own broken pieces. We all have to deal with the consequences of our actions, I said, my tone measured but firm. What happened was devastating, not just to me but to everyone involved. I'm trying to move on and focus on rebuilding my life. Emily nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I understand. I just wanted to apologize and explain that it wasn't about you. It was about me making a series of poor choices. I didn't handle things well, and I'm sorry for that. Her apology was a step toward reconciliation, but it did little to erase the past. I had come to terms with the fact that forgiveness was a personal journey, one that required time and reflection. It wasn't something that could be offered lightly, and I wasn't yet ready to extend it. As the conversation drew to a close, Emily stood up to leave, her face a mixture of relief and sorrow. I watched her go, feeling a sense of finality. The cafe, once a haven of normalcy, now felt like a stage where the final act of our shared drama had played out. The weeks continued to pass, and with each day, I worked on reclaiming a sense of normalcy. I began to engage more deeply in personal projects and hobbies that I had neglected. I joined a local gym, not just to stay fit but to meet new people and focus on my own well-being. The gym became a new sanctuary, a place where I could channel my energy into something positive and empowering. During this time, I also made an effort to reconnect with old friends and establish new connections. Socializing, once a source of anxiety, became a way to rediscover aspects of myself that had been overshadowed by my previous relationship. I found comfort in new routines and experiences, slowly rebuilding a life that felt more authentically mine. As I moved forward, the memories of the past events began to fade, replaced by the anticipation of new beginnings. The pain of betrayal had been a profound lesson, one that had altered my perspective on relationships and trust. But it had also given me the opportunity to start anew, to focus on personal growth and to embrace the possibility of a brighter future. Emily's visit was a chapter in my journey toward healing. It was a reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the importance of moving forward, no matter how painful the process. As I continued to rebuild my life, I felt a growing sense of hope and determination, ready to face whatever came next with a renewed sense of purpose. Months had passed since the chaotic culmination of Jack's and Emily's trip, and life had slowly started to settle into a new routine. My days were filled with work and personal projects, each step a deliberate move towards rebuilding my sense of self. I had made peace with the past, or so I thought, until an unexpected encounter brought it all back into focus. One crisp autumn afternoon, I was at a local cafe, enjoying a rare moment of relaxation, when I saw a familiar face walk through the door. It was Jack, looking weary but determined. We had not spoken since the events of the trip, and seeing him now brought a surge of mixed emotions. He spotted me and hesitated for a moment before approaching. "Do you mind if I sit?" he asked, his voice carrying a note of vulnerability. I gestured to the empty chair across from me. "Go ahead." Jack sat down and exhaled deeply, as if the weight of unspoken words was almost too much to bear. "I didn't expect to run into you here," he began. "I've been meaning to reach out, but I didn't know how." I nodded, inviting him to continue. "What's on your mind?" Jack looked down at his coffee, stirring it absently. I wanted to apologize for how everything went down. The confrontation on the mountain, it was never meant to be so public. I was hurting and angry, and I'm sorry for dragging you into that mess. His apology was heartfelt, and I could see the remorse in his eyes. "Thank you for saying that," I replied. "I appreciate it, but you don't need to apologize for what you did. We all had our share of mistakes." Jack seemed to relax slightly, as if a burden had been lifted. "I've been trying to move on, just like you. But it's been tough. I lost not only Emily but also a sense of who I was. I think I needed to talk to you to find some closure." I could relate to his struggle. The aftermath of betrayal had been a journey of self-discovery for me as well. "I understand. It's hard to reconcile with everything that's happened. I've been working on finding my own path and rebuilding from scratch." We talked for a while longer, discussing our separate journeys and the lessons we'd learned from the ordeal. Jack had been seeking therapy to deal with his feelings, and he was trying to piece together the fragments of his life. Hearing his progress gave me a sense of hope that we were both moving forward, even if the scars remained. As our conversation wound down, Jack stood up, looking more at ease than when he had arrived. Thanks for listening. I didn't know what to expect, but this was helpful. I think it's time for both of us to finally put this behind us and focus on the future. I agreed. Yes, it's time to move forward. We've both been through a lot, but we can't let the past dictate our future. Jack gave a nod of gratitude and left the cafe, a sense of closure visible in his demeanor. I watched him go, feeling a mix of relief and melancholy. The encounter had been a reminder of the shared pain and growth that had come from the ordeal. But it also signaled the end of that chapter. As I returned to my coffee and my own thoughts, I felt a renewed sense of determination. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined my path. I was ready to embrace the future with an open heart, knowing that while the scars of betrayal might remain, they would no longer hold me back. The cafe, once a backdrop for a painful reunion, now seemed like a place of new beginnings. The conversation with Jack had been a step toward final closure, and with it, I felt a sense of readiness to face the next phase of my life. The journey of healing was ongoing, but I was learning to navigate it with strength and optimism. Life had begun to feel like a new chapter, full of possibilities and opportunities for growth. The encounter with Jack had given me a sense of closure, but as with all significant changes, the journey continued to evolve in unexpected ways. One evening, as I was finishing up some work at home, I received an email that would set the stage for another twist in my evolving story. The email was from a friend of mine, Sarah, who worked in event planning. She was organizing a charity gala and had heard about my recent experiences. Her message was warm and encouraging, and she invited me to speak at the event about overcoming personal challenges. At first, I hesitated. Speaking publicly was not something I had ever done, and the idea of reliving my story made me uneasy. But as I read through her words, I realized it was an opportunity to channel my experiences into something positive. The gala was scheduled for a month later, and I agreed to participate. Preparing for the speech was both therapeutic and daunting. I spent hours reflecting on the lessons I had learned and how I had managed to find a sense of peace despite the turmoil. Crafting the narrative for my speech became an exercise in understanding and acceptance. It was a way to articulate the growth that had come from the pain, and to offer hope to others who might be facing their own struggles. As the event approached, I was both nervous and excited. The gala was to be held in a grand hall downtown, a place known for its elegance and prestige. I had attended events there before, but this was different. It was my chance to share my story and potentially inspire others. The night of the gala arrived, and the hall was abuzz with anticipation. Elegant decorations and soft music set a refined atmosphere, a stark contrast to the personal battles I had faced. As I waited backstage, I felt a mix of emotions, apprehension about speaking and a deep sense of purpose. When it was finally my turn to speak, I walked to the podium with a deep breath. The spotlight was bright, and the faces in the audience were a blur. I began by sharing my story, how I had discovered the betrayal, the ensuing confrontation, and the difficult journey of healing that followed. I spoke about the importance of resilience and self-compassion, and how those principles had guided me through the darkest moments. As I spoke, I noticed the audience's reactions. Some were nodding in understanding. Others were visibly moved. Sharing my story in such a public forum was both cathartic and empowering. It was a way to transform my personal struggle into a message of hope and strength. After my speech, the response was overwhelming. Attendees approached me with words of appreciation and shared their own stories of overcoming adversity. The connection I felt with them was profound. It was a reminder that while my journey had been deeply personal, it also resonated with others in meaningful ways. As the gala came to a close, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The experience had not only allowed me to contribute to a worthwhile cause but also reinforced the idea that personal growth often arises from the most challenging circumstances. The evening had been a celebration of resilience and a testament to the power of sharing our stories. Returning home, I reflected on the evening's events. The gala had marked a significant milestone in my journey, one of acceptance, empowerment, and hope. It was a reminder that while the past had its shadows, The future held the promise of new beginnings and opportunities to make a positive impact. With this newfound sense of clarity and purpose, I looked forward to what lay ahead. The path of healing and growth was ongoing, but the steps I had taken had prepared me for whatever came next. The future, once uncertain, now felt like a canvas ready to be painted with new experiences and possibilities. Weeks after the gala, life had settled into a new rhythm. I was deeply immersed in work and personal projects, embracing the stability and purpose they provided. Then, out of the blue, I received an invitation that made my heart race. Jack was getting married, and he wanted me to attend. The news was a shock. Jack and Emily's tumultuous relationship had seemed like a closed chapter, and now, here was Jack, moving forward with his life in a way that I hadn't expected. The invitation was both surprising and confusing. I hadn't heard much about his relationship with his new partner, and part of me wondered if attending would stir up old emotions. After some contemplation, I decided to attend. It felt like an opportunity to fully close the book on that chapter of my life and see firsthand how Jack had moved on. The wedding was scheduled for a picturesque vineyard, a setting that promised both beauty and tranquility. The day of the wedding arrived, and I found myself driving through rolling hills and grapevines, the landscape a far cry from the emotional turmoil of the past. The venue was as stunning as advertised, with elegant decorations and a serene atmosphere that seemed perfect for a new beginning. As I arrived, I saw familiar faces from the past, friends and acquaintances who had been part of the earlier events. Seeing them brought a mix of nostalgia and anticipation. The ceremony was set to take place in a lush garden, and I took a deep breath as I joined the guests. The garden was adorned with flowers and soft lights, creating a magical ambiance. Jack was standing at the altar, looking poised and surprisingly calm. His new partner, a woman named Sophie, appeared radiant as she walked down the aisle. She was beautiful, and there was a genuine warmth in her demeanor that was evident even from a distance. As the ceremony began, I watched with a sense of detached curiosity. Jack's vows were heartfelt, and Sophie's responses were filled with affection. It was clear that their relationship was built on mutual respect and deep connection. For the first time, I felt a pang of relief that Jack had found happiness again. The reception that followed was an affair of elegance and joy. Guests mingled, sharing laughter and stories as the evening unfolded. Jack and Sophie seemed genuinely happy, their joy contagious. I found myself conversing with old friends, sharing updates and reminiscing about past events. The atmosphere was light and celebratory, a far cry from the pain of earlier days. As the night progressed, I had a chance to speak with Jack. We shared a brief but meaningful conversation. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice filled with genuine appreciation. "It means a lot to me, and it feels like a full circle moment." I nodded, feeling a sense of closure. "I'm glad to be here. Seeing you so happy makes me realize how far we've all come. It's a new beginning for all of us." Jack smiled and clinked his glass in a toast to the future. The gesture felt symbolic, not just for him and Sophie, but for all of us who had been touched by the events of the past. It was a reminder that while the past had its shadows, the future held the promise of light and renewal. As the evening drew to a close, I watched Jack and Sophie dance, their happiness a testament to the power of new beginnings. The vineyard, once a backdrop for a significant emotional journey, now seemed like a place of celebration and hope. Driving home that night, I reflected on the evening's events. Jack's wedding had been more than just a social event, it had been a moment of reconciliation and acceptance. It marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, not just for Jack and Sophie, but for me as well. The journey of healing and growth continued, but now it felt more complete. The past had been acknowledged and understood, and the future seemed brighter. I was ready to embrace the new possibilities ahead with a heart that had learned to let go and move forward. Life had gradually settled into a new rhythm following Jack's wedding. I felt a sense of contentment as I embraced the changes and growth that had come my way. Yet, just as I was beginning to enjoy a peaceful routine, a new challenge emerged, one that would test the boundaries of my healing and resilience in unexpected ways. One brisk December afternoon, I received an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, "Old friend." Curious, I opened it to find a message from Ryan, the climbing instructor from the ill-fated trip. The email was brief but direct, asking if we could meet to discuss some unresolved issues. My initial reaction was a mix of apprehension and curiosity. The past had a way of surfacing when least expected, and Ryan's request felt like an intrusion into the newfound peace I had worked so hard to establish. Despite my reservations, I agreed to meet him. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe, the same place where I had last spoken with Emily. As I arrived, I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my chest. I hadn't seen Ryan since the confrontation on the mountain, and the thought of revisiting that turbulent time was unsettling. Ryan arrived looking weary but earnest. He greeted me with a subdued nod and sat down across from me. "Thanks for meeting with me," he began, his voice tinged with hesitation. "I know this might seem strange, but I've been reflecting on everything that happened, and I felt it was important to reach out." I nodded, encouraging him to continue. "What's on your mind?" Ryan took a deep breath. "I've been dealing with a lot of guilt and regret since the trip. I wanted to apologize for my part in everything that happened. I didn't fully understand the consequences of my actions until much later. And I realize now how much I hurt everyone involved." His apology was sincere, and I could see the weight of remorse in his eyes. "I appreciate your honesty," I said. "The past has been difficult, but hearing your perspective adds a new layer to the healing process. I'm trying to move forward, but I understand the need for closure." Ryan nodded, looking relieved. "I know I can't undo the past, but I hope this helps in some way. I've been working on understanding my own mistakes and trying to make amends where I can. I just wanted you to know that I'm truly sorry for the role I played." We talked for a while longer, discussing the events of the past and how they had affected each of us. Ryan's reflections were a reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the ripple effects of our actions. His attempt to make amends, while not changing the past, was a step toward reconciliation. As our conversation drew to a close, I felt a renewed sense of closure. The meeting with Ryan was not just about addressing old grievances but also about acknowledging the growth that had come from the shared experience. It was another step in the journey of healing and moving forward. Ryan left the cafe with a sense of relief, and I remained behind, reflecting on the encounter. The resolution of our conversation added a final piece to the puzzle of the past. It was a reminder that healing is a multifaceted process, involving not only our own efforts but also the willingness to address and resolve lingering issues. Driving home, I felt a mix of emotions: satisfaction from resolving another aspect of my past, and anticipation for the future. The journey had been fraught with challenges, but each step had brought me closer to understanding and acceptance. As I settled into the evening, I realized that the past, with all its complexities, had taught me valuable lessons. The ability to face old wounds and seek resolution was a testament to personal growth. With each challenge, I was learning to navigate life with a sense of purpose and resilience. The encounter with Ryan had been a reminder of the power of reconciliation and the importance of moving forward. It had reinforced the idea that while the past shapes us, it does not define us. With this newfound clarity, I looked forward to the future, ready to embrace the opportunities and challenges that lay ahead. The months that followed were a period of calm and reflection, as I settled into the routine of my new life. I found solace in my work and the small pleasures of daily existence. The scars of the past had begun to fade, replaced by a sense of equilibrium and hope for the future. Just as I was getting comfortable with this newfound stability, another unexpected twist emerged. One Friday evening, as I was winding down from a busy week, I received a message from an old friend, Lisa. We had lost touch over the years, but she wanted to catch up and proposed meeting at a nearby park. Curious and eager for a change of pace, I agreed. The park was peaceful, with leaves crunching underfoot and the scent of autumn in the air. Lisa arrived looking cheerful and vibrant, a stark contrast to the emotional turbulence that had marked my recent past. We exchanged warm greetings and took a stroll along the winding paths, catching up on life. Lisa's conversation was lively and filled with the excitement of new ventures. She had recently started a business and was eager to share her experiences. As we talked, she mentioned her plans to embark on a romantic getaway with her partner. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and it was a welcome distraction from my own recent experiences. During our conversation, Lisa casually brought up a topic that caught my attention. She mentioned that she had recently met someone who was a climbing enthusiast and had learned a lot from him. The name sounded familiar, Ryan. My heart skipped a beat as I connected the dots. Ryan, the same climbing instructor from the infamous trip, was now part of Lisa's social circle. Lisa noticed my reaction and looked at me with curiosity. "Do you know him?" she asked, her eyes widening with surprise. I hesitated, not wanting to delve too deeply into the past but feeling compelled to share a bit of context. "Yes, I know Ryan. We had a complicated history." Lisa's expression softened with understanding. "I had no idea. He's been a good friend, and I've heard a lot about his passion for climbing. He's been mentoring people and helping them achieve their goals." The conversation took an unexpected turn as Lisa continued to speak highly of Ryan. Her admiration for his dedication and skills was evident, and it painted a different picture of the man I had known. It was clear that he had moved on and made significant changes in his life. Possibly for the better. Lisa's revelations made me reflect on how much people can evolve over time. Ryan's journey had evidently taken him in a direction of growth and contribution, which was a stark contrast to the tumultuous events of the past. It was a reminder that while we had all faced challenges, we had also grown and changed in ways we might not have expected. As the evening came to a close, Lisa and I parted ways, and I walked home with a sense of contemplation. The chance encounter with Lisa had been a reminder of the interconnectedness of our lives and how the actions of others could have far-reaching effects. The encounter with Lisa and the new insights about Ryan added another layer to my understanding of the past. It was a testament to the complexity of human experiences and the way people's paths could intersect in unexpected ways. Ryan's evolution, as described by Lisa, was a testament to the possibility of change and growth, even after significant setbacks. Reflecting on the evening, I felt a renewed sense of acceptance and peace. The past had shaped who I was, but it did not define my future. I had learned to navigate the complexities of life with resilience and openness. The journey of healing was ongoing, but each new insight and experience was a reminder of the power of personal growth and the potential for new beginnings. With this renewed perspective, I looked forward to the future with hope and anticipation. The twists and turns of the past had brought me to a place of understanding and acceptance, and I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead with a sense of curiosity and optimism. The new year had brought a fresh sense of possibility. I was deeply immersed in personal projects and had even started volunteering at a local community center, channeling my energy into activities that felt meaningful and fulfilling. The weeks passed peacefully until an email arrived, bringing a surprising twist: an invitation to speak at a motivational seminar. The seminar was organized by a nonprofit focused on personal growth and overcoming adversity. The topic was right up my alley. Given my experiences, and I felt it was an opportunity to share my journey and perhaps inspire others. The event was set to take place in a few weeks, and I began preparing my speech with a mix of excitement and nervousness. As the date approached, I spent hours refining my message, weaving together elements of my story with insights I had gained along the way. My goal was to present a narrative that was both authentic and uplifting, demonstrating how adversity could be transformed into a source of strength and resilience. On the day of the seminar, I arrived at the venue, a modern conference center filled with a palpable sense of anticipation. The atmosphere was charged with energy as attendees mingled and exchanged stories of their own challenges. It was a diverse crowd, each person bringing their own experiences and expectations to the event. When it was finally my turn to speak, I walked to the podium with a mix of apprehension and determination. The room was filled with eager faces, and the spotlight seemed to intensify my focus. I took a deep breath and began sharing my story: how I had discovered my wife's betrayal, the aftermath of that revelation, and the difficult path to healing that followed. As I spoke, I could see the audience's reactions. Some were nodding in agreement, others were visibly moved. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and it was clear that my message resonated with many. The seminar turned into a platform not just for sharing my story, but for connecting with others who had faced their own trials. During the experience was both cathartic and empowering, highlighting the power of storytelling and community in the healing process. After the event, I received numerous messages from attendees expressing their gratitude and sharing how my story had impacted them. It was a humbling reminder of the broader impact that personal experiences could have. The connections made during the seminar were a testament to the shared human experience and the strength that could be found in coming together to support one another. Returning home, I reflected on the day's events. The seminar had been more than just an opportunity to speak, it had been a meaningful experience that reinforced my own growth and resilience. It was a reminder that while the past had its shadows, it also held the potential for positive change and connection. With renewed energy and a sense of fulfillment, I looked forward to the future with optimism. The journey of healing and self-discovery continued, and each new experience added to the tapestry of my life. The seminar had been a milestone, marking another step in the ongoing process of growth and renewal. As I settled into my routine, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunities that had come my way. The past, with all its challenges, had shaped me into someone who could embrace new beginnings with an open heart. The future held the promise of continued growth and new experiences, and I was ready to face it with resilience and hope. The months after the seminar were filled with a sense of continuity and calm. I had established a routine that balanced work, personal growth, and community involvement. The experience had been transformative, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yet, life has a way of throwing curveballs, and an unexpected turn of events was about to test the stability I had worked so hard to achieve. One late afternoon, while I was at the community center, my phone buzzed with a message from Emily. She was reaching out after a long period of silence. The message was brief but direct. "Can we talk? There's something important I need to discuss with you." Her request stirred a mix of emotions, curiosity, apprehension, and a hint of unresolved hurt. I hadn't expected to hear from her again, especially after everything that had transpired. Still, I felt a sense of obligation to address whatever was on her mind. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe, a neutral setting that felt appropriate given our complicated history. When I arrived, Emily was already seated, her demeanor calm but serious. We exchanged polite greetings and settled into our seats. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Emily began, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "I know it's been a while, and I understand if you're reluctant, but I needed to reach out." I nodded, prompting her to continue. "What's on your mind?" Emily took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting a mix of regret and determination. "I wanted to apologize for everything that happened, my actions, the way I handled things. I've been reflecting a lot. And I realize now how much pain I caused. It wasn't just about the betrayal, it was about how I treated you and the choices I made." Her apology was sincere, and I could see the depth of her remorse. "I appreciate your apology," I said. "It means a lot to hear you acknowledge the impact of your actions. I've had time to process everything, and while it was painful, I've been able to find a sense of closure and move forward." Emily nodded, her eyes welling up with tears. "I'm glad to hear that you found some peace. I didn't expect to come back into your life, but I needed to make things right, even if it's just by offering a heartfelt apology. I want you to know that I genuinely regret how things unfolded." Our conversation continued, with Emily sharing insights into her own journey of self-reflection and growth. She spoke about the challenges she had faced and the steps she was taking to better understand herself. It was clear that she had undergone a significant transformation, one that mirrored the process I had experienced. As the meeting drew to a close, I felt a sense of resolution. Emily's apology and the acknowledgement of her actions were important steps in her own journey, as well as mine. It was another layer of closure, one that helped to further mend the past. Before we parted ways, Emily expressed her gratitude for the chance to make amends. "Thank you for listening and for being open to this conversation. It means more than I can express." I nodded, understanding the significance of our meeting. "Thank you for reaching out. It's another step toward healing, and I wish you well on your journey." As I left the cafe, I reflected on the encounter. It had been both challenging and cathartic, a reminder that healing often involves confronting and reconciling with the past. Emily's growth and apology were a testament to the complexity of human relationships and the capacity for change. Returning home, I felt a renewed sense of peace. The past had been acknowledged, and the journey of healing had come full circle. With each step, I was learning to embrace the future with hope and optimism. The path ahead was filled with potential, and I was ready to face it with a heart that had learned to let go and move forward. A few weeks after my meeting with Emily, I found myself unexpectedly drawn into the world of travel and adventure. It all started with a conversation at the community center. A volunteer, Alex, had recently returned from a solo hiking expedition in the Andes and was sharing his incredible stories. His tales of breathtaking landscapes and personal discovery stirred something within me, sparking an urge to explore beyond the confines of my everyday life. I decided to seize the opportunity for a fresh experience. After some research and planning, I booked a trip to a remote mountain range known for its challenging trails and stunning views. The idea of immersing myself in nature, far removed from the hustle and bustle of daily routines, was invigorating. It felt like the perfect way to continue my journey of personal growth and exploration. The day of the trip arrived, and I set off with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The journey took me through quaint villages and winding roads until I reached the base of the mountain range. The crisp, cool air and the sight of towering peaks filled me with a sense of anticipation and wonder. The first few days of hiking were physically demanding but incredibly rewarding. Each step brought new challenges and breathtaking vistas. I reveled in the solitude and the opportunity to reflect on my journey. The mountains, with their majestic presence, seemed to offer a new perspective on life and its challenges. One afternoon, as I was resting by a small stream, I encountered a fellow hiker named Sarah. She was an experienced mountaineer and had been traveling through the region for years. We struck up a conversation, and it quickly became apparent that her insights and experiences mirrored some of my own struggles and triumphs. Sarah shared stories of her travels and the lessons she had learned along the way. Her perspective on resilience and personal growth resonated deeply with me. We spent several days hiking together, exchanging stories and support. Her presence was a reminder of the connections that could be formed even in the most remote of places. As our journey continued, Sarah and I tackled more challenging trails, pushing our limits and discovering new strengths. The experience was both physically and emotionally exhilarating. We encountered unexpected weather, navigated difficult terrain, and celebrated the small victories along the way. On the final day of our hike, as we reached a panoramic viewpoint, Sarah and I paused to take in the view. The vast expanse of mountains and valleys below was awe-inspiring, a fitting end to our adventure. We shared a moment of quiet reflection, appreciating the beauty and the sense of accomplishment that came with reaching the summit. Before parting ways, Sarah and I exchanged contact information, promising to stay in touch. Our shared journey had been a powerful reminder of the transformative power of travel and the connections forged through shared experiences. Returning home, I felt a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. The trip had been more than just a physical journey, it had been an opportunity for deep reflection and growth. The lessons learned and the connections made during the hike were invaluable, adding a new dimension to my ongoing journey of self-discovery. As I settled back into my routine, I carried with me the memories of the mountains and the insights gained from the experience. The adventure had reaffirmed my belief in the importance of embracing new challenges and remaining open to the unexpected twists that life had to offer. The mountains had provided a backdrop for personal transformation, and the journey was a testament to the enduring power of exploration and connection. With a renewed sense of purpose, I looked forward to the future, ready to embrace the opportunities and adventures that lay ahead with an open heart and a spirit of adventure. Returning from my mountain adventure, I felt reinvigorated and optimistic about the future. The physical challenge and emotional clarity gained from the trip had left me feeling more grounded and prepared to tackle whatever came next. Yet, as often happens, life had a way of surprising me with new twists. One afternoon, as I was sorting through mail and catching up on emails, I received a message from a familiar name, Jack. It was the first time I had heard from him since the dramatic end of our previous interactions. The message was brief but unsettling. "I need to talk. It's important. Can we meet?" Jack's message stirred a mix of anxiety and curiosity. Our last encounter had been fraught with tension, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Still, I agreed to meet, recognizing that addressing any lingering issues was part of the process of moving forward. We arranged to meet at a quiet park, a place that seemed neutral enough given our complicated history. When I arrived, Jack was already there, sitting on a bench with a contemplative look. His demeanor was subdued, and he greeted me with a somber nod. "Thanks for meeting with me," Jack said as I approached. "I know this might be awkward, but I really needed to talk to you." I nodded, taking a seat beside him. "What's on your mind?" Jack took a deep breath before speaking. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since everything happened, about the trip, about Emily, and about how everything fell apart. I realize now that my actions were driven by anger and hurt, and that I didn't handle things as well as I could have. I wanted to apologize for the way I treated you and for the drama that unfolded." His apology was unexpected but genuine. I could see the regret in his eyes. And his acknowledgement of past mistakes was a step towards reconciliation. I appreciate your apology, I said. It's been a process for me, too. Coming to terms with what happened and finding a way to move forward has been challenging, but I'm glad to hear your perspective. Jack nodded, his expression reflecting a mix of relief and sorrow. I know I can't undo the past, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry for the role I played in everything. I've been working on understanding my own mistakes and trying to be better. It's been a difficult journey, but I hope this conversation can bring some closure. We continued to talk, sharing insights and reflections about the past and how it had shaped us both. Jack spoke about his own struggles and the steps he had taken to improve himself. It was clear that he had been on a journey of self-discovery and growth, much like my own. As the conversation drew to a close, I felt a sense of resolution. Jack's apology and the acknowledgement of his mistakes were important for my own process of moving forward. It was another step in the journey of healing and reconciliation, adding a layer of closure to the complex narrative of the past. Before parting ways, Jack expressed his gratitude for the opportunity to make amends. Thank you for listening and for being open to this conversation. It means a lot to me. I nodded, feeling a sense of peace. Thank you for reaching out. It's been helpful to address these issues and move forward. As I walked away from the park, I reflected on the meeting. It had been a significant moment, a reminder of the power of forgiveness and the importance of confronting the past to find closure. Jack's growth and apology were a testament to the ongoing journey of personal development and reconciliation. Returning to my routine, I felt a renewed sense of clarity and resolution. The past had been acknowledged, and the journey of healing had taken another important step. With each new experience, I continued to embrace the future with hope and optimism, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. As spring began to awaken the city, bringing new life and energy, I found myself reflecting on the progress I had made over the past year. My personal journey, marked by challenges and growth, had led me to a place of peace and clarity. Yet, life has a way of intertwining past and present, and an unexpected development was about to unfold. One sunny afternoon, I was at the community center when I received a phone call from an unfamiliar number. To my surprise, it was Emily. Her voice was calm but held an undercurrent of urgency. I hope I'm not interrupting, but there's something I need to discuss with you. It's about Jack. Her mention of Jack piqued my interest. Given the context of our last encounter, I was curious about what could possibly be significant enough to warrant another conversation. We agreed to meet at a cafe, a place that seemed suitable for a more personal discussion. When we met, Emily looked slightly apprehensive but determined. We exchanged pleasantries before she got straight to the point. I've been in touch with Jack recently, and he's been going through a tough time. He reached out to me because he's struggling with some personal issues, and it's clear that he's in a difficult place. I wanted to inform you because it might affect how we all move forward. Emily's words were unexpected. What kind of issues is Jack facing? I asked, trying to gauge the gravity of the situation. Emily took a deep breath before continuing. Jack has been dealing with some personal crises and is seeking help. He's been struggling with his own sense of purpose and is facing challenges that have left him feeling overwhelmed. He's reached out to me for support, and I thought it was important for you to know, especially since we've all been part of this journey together. Her revelation stirred a mix of emotions within me: compassion, concern, and a sense of responsibility. Jack's struggles, though part of the past, were now affecting the present in a way that required a thoughtful response. Thank you for letting me know, I said. I appreciate your openness. It sounds like Jack is going through a rough time, and I can understand why he would reach out for support. Emily nodded, her expression reflecting a mix of concern and empathy. I thought it might be helpful for you to know, especially given everything that has happened. We've all been part of this shared experience, and it seems only right to keep communication open. We talked for a while longer, discussing the complexities of the situation and how best to approach it. Emily's insights and willingness to address the issue openly were valuable, and it became clear that this was a chance for all of us to navigate a new chapter with compassion and understanding. As we parted ways, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Jack's struggles were a reminder of the ongoing nature of personal growth and the importance of supporting one another through difficult times. The past was not just a series of events but a tapestry of interconnected lives and experiences. Returning home, I pondered how to address the situation with Jack. My approach would need to balance empathy and practicality, offering support while acknowledging the complexities of our shared history. The goal was to create a space where healing could continue and new connections could be forged. In the days that followed, I reached out to Jack, offering a listening ear and a willingness to be supportive. Our conversation was candid and heartfelt. Jack expressed his gratitude for the opportunity to reconnect and spoke about the steps he was taking to address his challenges. This new chapter was an opportunity for growth and understanding. The past, while shaping our present, did not have to dictate our future. By embracing empathy and open communication, we could all find a way forward that honored our shared experiences and supported our individual journeys. As I navigated this new phase, I felt a deep sense of acceptance and readiness for what lay ahead. Life's complexities and interconnectedness were reminders of the importance of compassion and growth. With each step, I was learning to embrace the present and the future with an open heart, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities arose.